Welcome to Macro Magic. I'm Sherry Damaris, and with me today is Patricio Garcia de Paredes, and we're zooming him in from Japan. And we're hoping to have Patricio on often on our show starting in the new year, as we will be teaching together many workshops on Zoom and hopefully one day in person. And we want to convey to viewers more of a macrobiotic approach to diet, especially in these times when pandemics and we're hit with so many health issues. It's really important to keep our gut healthy. So today we're going to talk about gut health and why it is important and what you can easily do to change your gut microbiome. And then after commercial break, we're going to see a cooking demonstration from Patricio of miso soup, one of the foods most widely recommended for gut health. So welcome, Patricio.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm. And tell us a little bit about why gut health is such an important topic right now.
Well, from one perspective is because many people eventually have many gut-related problems. And it may go from something simple like constipation or diarrhea, bloating. It's related also to allergies. It's related also to inflammation, which is related to many chronic diseases. But the more we are learning about the gut, eventually we are also connecting to many other issues related to health, overall health, you may say. Having a healthy gut is important for absorption of nutrients. That means a good quality blood. It's been very much related to immunity, and as you very well mentioned, in a times of COVID and the possibility of infectious disease, it makes quite a lot of sense to work on our immunity through improving the condition of the gut.
And we know so much about food and how it influences our blood and our health. So what do we do to create all these problems in the gut?
Well, to start with, definitely is our modern way of eating. And I would like to kind of be concise and go kind of a little bit simple. I think there are three major food categories that we need to pay more attention, which is excessive consumption of animal food, especially more greasy, oily types like meats and dairy. We also have the sugars, and now with the gut, especially they're doing a lot of research with artificial sweeteners, and that includes the sweets and sodas and drinks. And the third category is the too much consumption of highly processed foods, chemicalized foods, and what they're now calling ultra-processed foods, which is basically foods that are have been processed much more than before. It starts with powders and so on, and these all have a weakening effect, you may say, harmful effect on the gut.
Yeah, we always tell our students read ingredients, and what shocks me is all the vegan food, all the vegan fast plant-based food has tons of chemicals in it and tons of pea proteins and all different things that are hard for the gut to digest. Along with protein powders, people use those to build up muscle if they work out. And if you read the package, there's a lot of sweeteners in them, and there's a lot of pea protein and all sorts of weird, chemicals in them.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. And people sometimes have a little bit of misconception that by being vegan or just avoiding animal food is enough. But eventually we have to kind of think a little bit deeper and wider. And those highly processed so-called vegan foods or plant-based foods may not be healthy as compared to whole foods, which we are recommending, which means minimally processed and more fresh quality.
So what within the macrobiotic diet is really helpful to strengthen the digestive tract and the gut?
Yeah, I think first of all would be a little bit the balance. I think instead of focusing overly on just one food, I think it's important that people eat with a little bit more variety, taking into consideration things like whole grains on a regular basis, nice vegetables, and bean products. in the macrobiotic diet also we have like a little bit of sea vegetables, which are actually very beneficial for the gut, and like natural sweeteners that are not as strong as the more processed ones. And then another food category you may say that has become kind of a lot of emphasis in modern times is the so-called probiotics, which is basically fermented foods that contain lots of beneficial bacteria. And I would say also I would add enzymes, which help to digest the food. And this is very important aspect of balanced diet, and especially considering the gut.
Yeah, and I know that the probiotics feed off the prebiotics feed off the probiotics. So if you have a prebiotic like sauerkraut or fermented miso, which we're going to show you the second half of the show, or shoyu, which is natural soy sauce, taking those along with whole grains, actually they feed off the whole grains. It's like food for them, and that's what creates the healthy microbiome in your gut.
Exactly, and that's the best way to go, because some people try the going more into supplements, but it's very difficult. You usually focus on only a small amount of type of bacteria, and actually there's hundreds of bacteria, and you need a balance. So it's daily eating what gives you the best results, and including a balanced diet that is more wholesome and less refined, along with these fermented foods, which macrobiotics actually has been emphasizing for a long time, even before this kind of latest research on even the word probiotics by the World Health Organization was created. Because I started about 40 years ago, through my mother, and one thing that she introduced in our diet were much more fermented foods, pickles, more variety, not only sauerkraut but larger variety, and then like you just mentioned, things like miso, which we started to add into soups or to season. And the seasonings also really wonderful, the naturally fermented seasonings.
Yeah, and I've seen when I work with clients who start taking miso soup, initially they might get gas, or it might be hard to digest, because they have blockage in the digestive tract. But over time, it really helps with digestion and assimilation. And it also has an added benefit where it takes excess like chemo radiation out of the body, or harsh chemicals if you've been exposed to chemicals, which we all apparently are being exposed to now. So it helps really clean the blood, in addition to helping your digestive tract get strong.
Yeah, that's right. What I would suggest is, if you are completely new to this kind of diet, you can go slowly. You can let your gut actually get used to this, eating more fiber, and replacing some of you may say a little bit of bad quality bacteria, because when we eat a lot of animal food, also one of the problems is that sometimes it spoils in the digestive system. Especially if you have tendency toward constipation. And then a little bit of so-called bad quality bacteria starts to build up in your intestines. So when the good quality bacteria starts to come in, sometimes create a little bit bloating or gas. And this is part of a process, I would say, of improving your intestine or healing your intestine. Mm-hmm. So this kind of discomfort goes away, and eventually your gut gets much healthier, and eventually bowel movement gets more regularly, and so you get many benefits. And from there on, you can prevent also many sicknesses. And I think it's important also for people to start considering the diet for prevention, instead of always waiting until getting a more serious disease. And again, it's not only improving your gut, but it's improving the quality of your blood, immunity. And actually, one of the latest kind of relationship between the gut has been very interesting, because they noticed that it also has a big relationship with the brain. Mm-hmm. So that means improving your gut also improves your brain function, concentration, and also could prevent more serious disease related to the brain and nervous system. So you really can affect your whole body in a positive way.
Yeah, I read an article once about how they give school children in Japan rice balls before taking a test, and they'll chew them really well, and that helps them score better on their tests because it strengthens the gut, which is related to brain function.
Yeah. Traditionally, Japan, I would say that one of the healthy aspects of the Japanese diet, which is also related to the healthy aspects of the Asian diet, because you see a lot of fermented foods throughout Asia. Now that I've been over 20 years in Japan, but also had the chance to visit Korea. Kimchi is quite famous. And actually, kimchi, it's a very wide variety of pickles. It's not only the spicy one, that you may say it's the most popular one, but they have white kimchi, they call it, without spices, which is basically similar like sauerkraut fermented only with salt. And these are things that are eaten on a regular basis, and it's very important for gut health that these foods are eaten on a regular basis, because the microorganisms don't live for too long. So if it's on a regular basis, that means on a daily basis, that's the really best way to maintain the health of your gut.
And we usually recommend, what we'll be showing, miso soup you can do daily, but not twice a day. And then also with pickles, keep it to about a tablespoon per day, and then rinse them if they're a little too salty for you.
That's right. That's right. And then the other thing is the cooking. I know we're busy and people need to also go out to eat, and sometimes we need to make use of some pre-prepared foods, but the quality of those pre-prepared foods, try not to be with too many chemicals, because basically chemicalized foods are meant to last for a long time, and the way to do that is to kill the beneficial bacteria that we actually need. And that's the importance of more fresh foods and cooking. And among cooking, I'd like to also point out as much as possible, stay away from microwave ovens, because many people don't know that microwave ovens actually kill the bacteria. So you may make a lot of effort to put together nice meals, but then you heat them up in the microwave, and that kills the good bacteria. That's why the chefs in Japan, they like to use the microwave oven, but it's not for quickness or to get things ready, but actually it's because it keeps the color of the food for longer time. And then when you take a look at why that happens, is because it kills the bacteria, so there's no fermentation going on, and then the colors don't change. But for our gut health, actually, that's not so good idea. So a little bit of more fresh cooking also, I would suggest that.
Yeah, I remember being in Japan, and they had the bento boxes that were all sealed up like in the airports and stuff. And to have canned food or, long sealed up food also, you're losing all that healthy microbiome.
That's right.
Bacteria that you would need.
That's right. Yeah. So, the basic food culture was very good, but because of the modern everybody being very busy and over reliance on processed foods, eventually also that kind of gut health that they used to have and had many foods to help maintain that, actually it's been kind of declining in recent years.
Okay, so we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to see Patricio in his kitchen demonstrating a simple miso soup that all viewers can try at home. And this, like we said, really helps boost up the microbiome and bacteria growth in your intestines, and helps become, helps your immunity, especially keeping away from viruses and bacteria, as we're all confronted with right now. So come back after break and enjoy our commercial, and then we'll see how to make miso soup. Welcome back to Macro Magic. I'm with Patricio Garcia de Paredes, and we had a mini lecture on why it's important to keep our gut healthy at this point, and what we can do, simple things we can do to build up our immune system. And just remembering that the gut is related to the brain, and the stronger you make your gut and your digestion, the more memory and acuity and mental focus you'll have throughout the day. So we're going to show you how to make a simple miso soup, and we have a photo of the finished product that we're going to share with you. And then we're going to join Patricio in the kitchen, and he's going to demonstrate how to make the soup. So welcome back, Patricio.
Thank you. Okay. So today I want to make a simple miso soup, and I'm going to maybe emphasize a few kind of healthy points, because as with everything, quality makes a big difference. And I think if you emphasize a little bit quality, you're going to get much more benefits out of your miso soup. Now, miso soup, it's something that particularly I've been enjoying for many years, and I'm very happy to have known about it. And today I want to show you a very simple way of making it, in which, let me show you a little bit what I have down here. Okay. So here in my pot, I have about 1 cup of water. And we're gonna start by putting a little bit of wakame, which is a sea vegetable that is very quite easy to get, and it's very easy to use. You only need a small amount. Today I'm making just for 1 person, and you only need like a teaspoon of it. I'm gonna put it in the water. Cold water is fine, and then we're gonna bring it to a boil. And in the meantime, I'm gonna cut a few vegetables. Now, miso soup, you can actually put many ingredients, and also talk a little bit about variations, but the most simple one is just with a few vegetables. And vegetables, there's actually no end to what you can add. Whatever vegetable you're used to using your soups can go into a miso soup. Today I have a little bit of onion and a little bit of cabbage. That's gonna be the base of my miso soup today. I'm just gonna slice it. I wanna make it quite quick. So the slices is just gonna be fine slices.
And this is really simple. I often tell people if they don't have time to cut any vegetables, you can just heat up some water, put in the miso paste and a little bit of scallion if you're running off to work. But
Sure.
as long as you don't boil the miso, right?
Sure. You can make, almost like a miso, you may call it soup, but also you may call it almost like a tea in a way. Even in a cup, hot water, simmer a little bit the miso, and then pour it in a cup and drink it. And that alone, actually, already, you get a lot of the bacteria. It tastes very nice. It's kind of comforting, especially in the winter when it gets cold, can be kind of warming. But obviously, if you have a few vegetables in the fridge, you can just chop them up. And it's so quick, now it's coming to a boil, just about the time that it took me to slice a few veggies.
And this is always great for a hangover or a cold. If you're not feeling well, you just make a little cup of miso soup too. Headaches, yeah.
It's kind of also soothing,
Mm-hmm.
We may not think of so much of a soup like this, or a broth, to be soothing, but actually I find it very soothing. We're so busy nowadays. Another very important thing for the gut is to chew, to eat slowly and chew. It may sound like a very simple recommendation, but actually it's so important.
Mm-hmm.
But to be frank, few of us actually take the time to chew.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes, and eating on the go and so on, and our digestive system don't feel so good. So one thing is in the morning, but actually I find that many people also enjoy it after a long day of work and you're a little bit tired, and then you make yourself a soup, or again, you simmer a little bit of miso and then you drink it a little bit in a cup, also can be very comforting and very nice for the digestive system.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's been boiling. I lower the flame a little bit. I slice it really fine, which means that the vegetables will cook in just, a minute or two. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about miso, because there's many varieties of miso. And here I'd like to point out the importance of finding a little bit better quality miso. I think, Sherry, you're more familiar with the misos in the United States. Maybe you can give some recommendation. What kind of miso would you suggest?
Yeah, so we actually did a show on Miso Day for Miso Master, and Miso Master is in most of our Whole Food stores across the United States. There's also South River Miso, where we're filming our documentary on the spirit of rice. And there's also a company through Natural Import, Mitoku, that you can get miso. It's important to get just the clean miso without chemicals or additives, and it should be aged about 2 years. And it usually says that on the package.
Basically, what it means is that the longer you ferment it, the bacteria actually grows and becomes stronger, and that's exactly what you want. You want a miso that is very rich in good quality bacteria, and it's a very unique type of bacteria because it doesn't spoil easily. Usually, miso, once it's well fermented, it doesn't spoil very easily, and over time actually increases in enzymes, which are also very good for digestion. So that's why we are recommending a little bit the longer fermented ones, which is quite unusual in comparison to the more commercial types of miso that are usually fermented very short time, and they add yeast, which you don't really want yeast in there. Yeast is not part of the bacteria part that you want. It's similar to yeasted bread and sourdough. Sourdough is considered a probiotic, but yeast not necessarily so. So again, the quality will make a big difference. And today I'm using a little bit, like Sherry has suggested, a little bit longer fermented. So it's usually a little bit darker color. And we're gonna use a little bit of this hot broth. And I have it in this cup. The amount is really up to you. You know, some people need to eat a little bit with less salt or sodium, you may say, so you can make it much milder. Some people that may not be a problem and may use a little bit more, but in general, it doesn't need to be overly salty. And especially today, because we use some nice sweet vegetables, and that itself is gonna give a nice flavor to the broth. It's good to dilute it well before you add it.
And also not to
using very
boil
simple
it.
things like a spoon and a cup, and then diluting it a little bit.
And also,
And then-
you don't want to
Yeah.
boil it, right?
Yes?
You don't want to boil it.
Yeah, exactly. For the basic miso soup, it is better to lower the flame. I have a very low flame right now. It's not boiling anymore, just on a kind of very low simmer. And I'm gonna add it now. And then just simmer for 2 to 3 minutes just to make sure you dilute it well, it's dissolved well. And then the flavors also mix with the vegetables, and you get a really nice flavor.
We're going to wrap things up. So, Patricio, if you don't mind just serving it in the bowl so viewers can see
Sure.
what it looks like. It's beautiful.
The wakame also is very beautiful. It's kind of greenish color, has wonderful minerals. It adds a little bit of flavor to the broth. And the combination of the vegetables and the sea vegetable, both of which contain nice fiber, then you got so-called your probiotics and your prebiotics combined together, and that's kind of the best way to get best results.
So nice. Thank you. So thank you for coming on the show and showing us a really simple miso soup, which I hope all viewers go home and practice. And thank you, viewers, for listening. If you want the recipe for this soup, please visit us at macromagic.com and hit the subscribe button, and you will get a copy of the recipe and some beautiful photos. We also have a course coming up that Patricio and I are teaching in October, and we'd love for you to join the course. You can just scan your phone to sign up using the QR code, or go to macromagic.com and look up the Food, Energy, and Body Wisdom course. This is Sherry Damaris, and see you next time.